Lisa Martinez walked slowly down the long hallway of the Star Phoenix. Her old black shoes made soft sounds on the metal floor. She carried a simple brown bag in one hand and held her ticket in the other. The ticket said, First Class, Seat 3A, in clear letters. The Star Phoenix was the biggest passenger ship traveling between Earth and Centauri Prime. It took 3 days to make the trip. Rich people from many different planets used this ship. Lisa looked around at the beautiful walls and bright lights. Everything was clean and expensive looking. She wore a plain blue dress and a small jacket. Her hair was tied back in a simple way. Next to the other passengers in their fancy clothes and jewelry, Lisa looked very ordinary. She did not mind. She had always liked simple things. Lisa found her seat by the window in first class. The seat was soft and comfortable. She put her bag under the seat in front of her and sat down. Through the big window, she could see Earth getting smaller as the ship moved away. The blue and green planet looked beautiful against the black space. Other passengers walked by her seat. Most of them were not human. There were tall gray aliens with long necks called Zephyrians. There were short blue aliens with 4 arms called Altarians. There were also some humans, but not many. A young human woman in a flight attendant uniform stopped by Lisa's seat. She had short red hair and kind eyes. Her name tag said Kira Vale. "Good morning, ma'am," Kira said with a smile. "Can I get you anything to drink before we start our journey?" "Just some water, please," Lisa said quietly. Her voice was soft and polite. "Of course, we'll be serving lunch in about an hour," Kira said and walked away. Lisa opened a book and began to read. She liked to read during long trips. The book was about plants that grow on different planets. It was not exciting, but Lisa found it interesting. About 30 minutes later, Lisa heard loud voices near the entrance to first class. She looked up from her book and saw a very tall Zephyrian walking toward her. He wore expensive purple robes with gold decorations. His gray skin was smooth and his black eyes were cold. Behind him walked another Zephyrian in a dark uniform. This was Captain Rex Morrison, the flight commander. The tall Zephyrian in purple robes stopped right next to Lisa's seat. He looked down at her with angry eyes. "You," he said in a deep voice. "You are sitting in my seat." Lisa looked at her ticket, again. "I'm sorry, but this is seat 3A. My ticket says seat 3A. "I am Lord Vex Korath," the alien said loudly. "I need this window seat for my important business. Humans do not need such good seats. You will move." Captain Morrison stepped forward. He was also tall and gray like all Zephyrians. His uniform had many gold buttons and badges. "What seems to be the problem here?" Captain Morrison asked. "Lord," Korath pointed at Lisa. "This human is in my seat. I require the window seat for my work during the journey. Surely a simple human woman does not need such accommodations." Lisa stood up slowly. She was much shorter than both aliens. "Captain, I bought this ticket 2 months ago. I paid for this seat. Here is my receipt." She showed him a paper from her bag. Captain Morrison looked at the paper for only a few seconds. Then he handed it back to Lisa, without really reading it. "I'm sure there has been some mistake," he said. "Lord Korath is a very important passenger. He does much business with our airline. I'm certain you will be comfortable in economy class." "But I paid for first class," Lisa said quietly. "I have the right to sit here." Lord Korath laughed. It was not a nice laugh. "Rights? Humans have no rights on ships owned by superior beings. You should be grateful we let you travel with us at all." Other passengers in first class turned to watch. Most of them were aliens. They whispered to each other, and some of them smiled. They seemed to think it was funny to see a human being treated this way. Kira Vale came back with Lisa's water. She saw what was happening and looked worried. "Captain," Kira said carefully, "this passenger does have a valid first-class ticket. Perhaps we could find another seat for Lord Korath." Captain Morrison's eyes became angry. "Flight Attendant Vale, you will not tell me how to run my ship. This matter is decided. The human will move to economy class immediately." Lisa looked around at all the faces watching her. Some aliens seemed happy to see her embarrassed. A few humans in other seats looked down at their hands. They did not want to get in trouble too. Please, Lisa said one more time. I just want to sit in the seat I paid for. Lord Korath made a sound like a snake. Pathetic. Captain, have your security remove this creature. I do not have time for this nonsense. Two large security guards came forward. They were humans, but they looked afraid of Captain Morrison. Ma'am, one guard said quietly to Lisa, please come with us. We don't want any trouble. Lisa picked up her bag and her book. She did not argue or fight. She walked slowly between the two guards toward the back of the ship. Her face showed no emotion, but her eyes were sad. As she walked away, she heard Lord Korath sit down in her seat. Much better, he said loudly. Humans must learn their place in the galaxy. The other alien passengers laughed and agreed with him. Some said that humans were too weak to deserve good treatment. Others said humans should be grateful for any kindness from superior species. Kira Vale watched Lisa walk away. She wanted to help, but she knew she could lose her job if she made Captain Morrison more angry. She brought Lord Korath the water. That was meant for Lisa. Lisa walked through the middle section of the ship and into economy class. The seats here were smaller and closer together. The windows were tiny. The air smelled different, not as clean as first class. She found an empty seat near the back. As she sat down, she noticed other humans around her. They all looked tired and sad. Some had been treated badly too. She was not alone, but that did not make her feel much better. Lisa put her bag under the seat and opened her book again. She would read and wait. The journey to Centauri Prime was still 3 days long. Many things could happen in 3 days. She did not know that her quiet dignity during this humiliation would soon change everything for everyone on the Star Phoenix. Lisa sat in her small economy seat and tried to read her book. The words were hard to see because the lights were not very bright back here. She could hear loud talking and laughing from first class. The sounds made her remember what had just happened to her. A woman sat down in the seat next to Lisa. She was about 50 years old with short gray hair and glasses. She wore a white coat over her clothes. She looked tired and angry. Hello, the woman said to Lisa. I'm Dr. Amy Chen. I was supposed to be in first class too, but they moved me back here. Lisa looked up from her book. I'm Lisa Martinez. They took my seat too. What happened to you? Dr. Chen shook her head. I had seat 2B in first class. I'm a scientist going to Centauri Prime to study the plants there. I've been planning this trip for 2 years, but when I got to my seat, there was luggage all over it. Luggage? Lisa asked. Yes, big expensive bags belonging to Ambassador Thel, Fardak. He's an Altarian diplomat. He said he needed extra space for his important papers. The captain told me that my ticket was a mistake. He said humans don't really need first-class seats because we're too simple to understand luxury. Lisa felt angry but kept her voice quiet. That's not right. You paid for your seat. Of course I did. I saved money for months to buy that ticket, but what can we do? They have all the power on this ship. Dr. Chen looked around at the other passengers in economy class. Look around us, Lisa. Almost everyone back here is human. All the aliens are in first class. Lisa did look around. Dr. Chen was right. She saw many humans sitting in the small, uncomfortable seats. They all looked unhappy. Near the front of economy class, she saw a young man with brown hair working on some kind of machine. He looked frustrated. Who is that? Lisa asked, pointing to the young man. I think his name is Jake Sullivan. He's an engineer. I heard him talking to one of the flight attendants earlier. He was very upset about something. Lisa stood up and walked over to Jake. He was about 25 years old and wore work clothes. His hands were dirty from fixing machines. Excuse me, Lisa said politely. I'm Lisa Martinez. Are you having trouble? Jake looked up at her. His face was red with anger. Oh, hi, I'm Jake Sullivan. And yeah, I'm having trouble. Big trouble. What kind of trouble? Lisa asked. Jake put down his tools. I work for Phoenix Galactic Enterprises. That's the company that owns this airline. I have a contract to fix their ships when they break down. I've been doing this job for 3 years. That sounds like important work, Lisa said. It is important work. When I bought my ticket, they promised me an upgrade to first class. They said it was part of my contract benefits. I was really excited because I've never flown first class before. But you're back here with us, Lisa said. Yeah. When I got to the first class door, Captain Morrison stopped me. He looked at my ticket and laughed. He said humans should know their place. He said I could fix their machines, but that didn't make me good enough to sit with the important passengers. Lisa felt her anger growing, but she kept her face calm. Did you show him your contract? I tried to. He wouldn't even look at it. He said if I caused any more trouble, he would cancel my contract completely. Then I would lose my job. Jake hit his fist on the armrest of his seat. I need this job. I have a wife and a baby at home on Earth. Lisa sat down in the empty seat, next to Jake. Tell me more about your work. What kind of machines do you fix? Jake's face changed. He loved talking about his work. I fix everything. Engines, life support systems, navigation computers, emergency equipment. These big ships are very complicated. Most alien crews don't understand how the human-made parts work. Human-made parts? Lisa asked. Oh yeah. Most of the important systems on ships like this are made by human companies. We're really good at building reliable machines. The aliens buy our equipment because it's the best, but they don't like to admit it. Lisa nodded slowly. That's very interesting, Jake. What company makes most of these parts? Phoenix Galactic Enterprises makes about 60% of all the equipment on this ship. The engines, the emergency systems, even the seats we're sitting on. They're the biggest human company in space. Dr. Chen had been listening to their conversation. She came over and sat with them. I didn't know humans made so much of the equipment on these ships, she said. Most people don't know, Jake said. The alien companies like to pretend they make everything themselves. But when something breaks, they always call human engineers to fix it. A flight attendant walked by carrying drinks to first class. It was Kira Vale, the same woman who had been kind to Lisa earlier. She saw the three humans talking and stopped. How are you all doing back here? She asked quietly. She looked worried. We're fine, Lisa said. Thank you for asking. Kira looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she sat down next to them. I'm really sorry about what happened in first class, she said to Lisa. Captain Morrison was wrong to treat you that way. It's not your fault, Lisa said. You were just doing your job. I've been working on this ship for 2 years, Kira said. I see this kind of thing happen all the time. Human passengers get treated badly, even when they have valid tickets and follow all the rules. Why don't you report it to someone? Dr. Chen asked. Kira laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. Report it to who? Captain Morrison runs this ship. The company owners are all aliens too. If I complain, I'll lose my job just like that. She snapped her fingers. What about the human companies that make the ship parts? Jake asked. Don't they have any power? I don't think so, Kira said. They just make the equipment and sell it. They don't get involved in how the ships are run. Lisa listened to everything they said. She asked many questions about how the ship worked, who owned different parts of the company, and how decisions were made. The others thought she was just curious, but Lisa was learning important information. From first class, they could hear loud music and laughter. Ambassador Thel Vardak was telling stories about his successful business deals. Lord Korath was bragging about his wealth and power. Other alien passengers were making jokes about how weak and stupid humans were. Listen to them, Jake said angrily. They think we're nothing, just servants and workers. Maybe that's what they want to think, Lisa said quietly. Dr. Chen looked at her. What do you mean? Lisa smiled, but it was a strange smile. Sometimes it's better when people underestimate you. They make mistakes when they think you're not important. The other three looked at Lisa with curiosity. There was something different about her voice when she said that. Something that made them think she knew more than she was telling them. But before anyone could ask more questions, the ship's speakers came on. Captain Morrison's voice filled the economy section. Attention passengers. We are now entering deep space. The journey to Centauri Prime will take exactly 72 hours. Please remain in your seats unless absolutely necessary. That is all. Lisa opened her book again, but she was not really reading. She was thinking about everything she had heard. Jake went back to working on his machine. Dr. Chen pulled out some scientific papers to read. Kira went back to serving the alien passengers, in first class. None of them knew that their quiet conversation had been very important. Lisa had learned exactly what she needed to know. Soon, everything on the Star Phoenix would change. Lisa woke up from her sleep when the ship started shaking. At first, it was just a small movement like a gentle rocking, but then the shaking got stronger. Her book fell off her lap and hit the floor. Other passengers in economy class were waking up too. Some of them looked scared. The lights in the cabin flickered on and off several times. "What's happening?" Dr. Chen asked. She was holding on to her armrest tightly. Jake Sullivan was already awake. He had been working on his machine when the shaking started. "I think we're flying through some kind of storm," he said. "Space storms can be very dangerous." From the front of the ship, they could hear alarms going off. Red warning lights started flashing in the ceiling. The ship shook harder, and some passengers started to panic. A voice came over the speakers. It was Captain Morrison, but he sounded different. His voice was shaky and worried. "Attention passengers. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. Please remain calm and stay in your seats. The crew is working to solve the problem." But Captain Morrison did not sound calm at all. Lisa could hear the fear in his voice. The shaking got worse. Bags fell out of the overhead storage areas. Some passengers started crying. Others were praying in different alien languages. Kira Vale came running through economy class. Her face was pale and she looked very worried. "Kira," Lisa called to her. "What's really happening?" Kira stopped and looked around. She leaned down close to Lisa so other passengers could not hear. "We flew into a cosmic storm," she whispered. "It's much worse than anything I've seen before. The storm is damaging our systems. The captain and his officers don't know what to do." Jake stood up. "What systems are damaged?" "The navigation computer is not working right. Some of the engines are making strange noises. The life support system is showing warning signs." Kira's voice was getting more scared. "The alien officers are just standing around arguing with each other." Lisa stood up too. "Where are the human crew members?" "They're in the engine room trying to fix things. Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez is in charge down there." "Navigation officer. Sam Brooks is trying to fix the computer systems. Can I help?" Jake asked. "I know these systems very well." Kira looked nervous. "Captain Morrison said no passengers should leave their seats, especially no humans." The ship shook so hard that everyone fell back into their seats. More alarms started going off. The lights went out completely for a few seconds, then came back on very dim. Lisa made a decision. "I'm going to help," she said quietly. "Lisa, no," Dr. Chen said. "You could get in trouble." "We're all going to get in trouble if this ship breaks apart," Lisa said. She started walking toward the front of economy class. Jake followed her. "I'm coming too. I can't just sit here when I know how to fix these problems." Kira tried to stop them. "Please, you don't understand. If Captain Morrison sees you out of your seats, he will be very angry." "Let him be angry," Lisa said. Her voice was different now, stronger, more confident. "Right now, saving everyone's life is more important than following his stupid rules." Lisa and Jake walked through the ship toward the engine room. The hallways were full of smoke and the smell of burning electronics. They passed several alien crew members who were standing around looking confused and scared. They found the engine room door. Inside, they could hear men shouting and machines making loud noises. Lisa opened the door. The engine room was full of steam and flashing lights. A man with gray hair and dirty work clothes was kneeling next to a large machine. He was Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez. Sweat was running down his face. "The main power coupling is overloading," he shouted to another man across the room. "If it blows, we lose everything." The other man was Navigation Officer Sam Brooks. He was younger, with black hair and glasses. He was working on a computer that was showing lots of red warning signals. The navigation system is completely confused, Sam shouted back. The storm is messing up all our sensors. I can't tell where we are or where we're going. Lisa walked into the engine room. What can we do to help? Both men looked up at her in surprise. Ma'am, you shouldn't be here, Pete said. This area is dangerous. I know it's dangerous, Lisa said calmly. The whole ship is dangerous right now, but I think I can help. Jake stepped forward. I'm Jake Sullivan. I work for Phoenix Galactic. I know these systems. Pete's face changed when he heard the name Phoenix Galactic. You work for Phoenix? Thank God. We need all the help we can get. What's wrong with the power coupling? Jake asked. It's overheating because the storm is causing power surges. If I shut it down to cool it off, we lose engine power. If I leave it running, it might explode. Lisa walked over to look at the machine. She studied it carefully for a minute. Then she looked at some other equipment nearby. What about using the secondary power routing system? She asked. Pete looked at her with surprise. How do you know about that system? I read a lot, Lisa said simply. Can we route the main power through the secondary system while the coupling cools down? That's actually a very good idea, Pete said, but it's risky. If the secondary system fails, we lose everything at once. Sam Brooks called from across the room. Pete, we've got another problem. The storm is pushing us toward a gravity well. If we can't get the engines working properly in the next hour, we're going to get pulled into it. A gravity well? Jake asked. It's like a big invisible hole in space, Sam explained. If we fall into it, the ship will be crushed. Lisa looked at all the machines around her. She walked from one to another, studying them carefully. The two engineers watched her with growing amazement. She seemed to understand exactly how everything worked. Pete, she said finally, do you have the technical manuals for the Phoenix Galactic systems? Yes, but they're very complicated. It takes years of training to understand them. Can I see them anyway? Pete brought her a thick book full of diagrams and technical information. Lisa opened it and started reading very fast. She turned pages quickly, like she was looking for something specific. Here, she said, pointing to a page. We can use this emergency procedure. It's designed for exactly this kind of situation. Pete looked at the page. His eyes got wide. I've never seen this procedure before. How did you find it so quickly? I told you. I read a lot, Lisa said. But there was something in her voice that made both men look at her more carefully. The ship shook again, harder than before. More alarms started going off. We don't have time to discuss it, Lisa said. Pete, start the secondary power routing. Jake, help Sam with the navigation computer. I'll monitor the main coupling temperature. Wait, Pete said. Ma'am, with all respect, you're a passenger. I can't let you operate critical ship systems. Lisa looked at him with calm, steady eyes. Pete, do you want to save this ship and everyone on it? Of course I do. Then trust me. I know what I'm doing. Something in her voice made Pete believe her. He nodded and started working on the secondary power system. For the next 30 minutes, Lisa, Jake, Pete, and Sam worked together like a perfect team. Lisa seemed to know exactly what needed to be done and when. She gave clear, precise instructions that showed deep understanding of the ship's systems. Slowly, the alarms started to quiet down. The shaking became less violent. The lights stopped flickering. It's working, Sam said with amazement. The engines are stabilizing. We're pulling away from the gravity well. The power coupling temperature is dropping, Pete reported. We're going to make it. Jake looked at Lisa with new respect. How did you know all that? You're not just a passenger, are you? Lisa smiled mysteriously. I'm just someone who pays attention. But Pete and Sam were both staring at her now with growing recognition. They had worked with Phoenix Galactic Systems for years. They knew that only someone with very high-level training could have done what Lisa just did. Ma'am, Pete said quietly. Who exactly are you? Before Lisa could answer, Captain Morrison's voice came over the speakers again. This time he sounded angry instead of scared. All passengers return to your seats immediately. Any passenger found in restricted areas will be severely punished. Lisa looked at the three men around her. I should go back to economy class, thank you for letting me help. She started to leave, but Pete called after her. Ma'am, wait. Will you tell us your name? Your real name? Lisa paused at the door. My name is Lisa Martinez. And gentlemen, this crisis isn't over yet. Be ready for anything. She left the engine room, leaving three very confused and curious men behind her. They had just seen a simple passenger save their ship with knowledge that should have been impossible for her to have. But they didn't know that the biggest surprises were still to come. Lisa walked back to economy class, but she could still hear the alarms going off in different parts of the ship. The cosmic storm was not finished with them yet. She sat down next to Dr. Chen, who grabbed her arm immediately. Lisa, where have you been? The flight attendants were looking for you everywhere. Captain Morrison is very angry that some passengers left their seats. I was helping in the engine room, Lisa said quietly. Dr. Chen stared at her. You were helping? How could you help with spaceship engines? Before Lisa could answer, the ship shook again. This time it was different. Instead of the violent shaking from before, now the ship felt like it was falling. The feeling in their stomachs told them something was very wrong. Jake Sullivan came running back to economy class. His face was covered with sweat and oil from working on machines. He sat down quickly next to Lisa. The main engines just failed completely, he whispered. Pete and Sam are trying everything they can think of, but nothing is working. We're drifting toward that gravity well again. How long do we have? Lisa asked. Maybe 2 hours before we get pulled in. After that, Jake didn't finish his sentence, but everyone knew what he meant. From first class, they could hear shouting. The alien passengers had figured out that something was seriously wrong. Lord Korath's voice was the loudest. Captain Morrison, I demand, to know what is happening to this ship. I have important business meetings on Centauri Prime. I cannot be late. Captain Morrison's voice came over the speakers again. He sounded desperate now. All passengers must remain calm. The crew is working on the engine problems. We will reach Centauri Prime safely. But everyone could hear the fear in his voice. Nobody believed him anymore. Kira Vale came through economy class again. This time she was almost running. She stopped when she saw Lisa. Mrs. Martinez, Captain Morrison wants to see you immediately. He's very angry that you were in the engine room. Lisa stood up calmly. I'll come with you. Lisa, be careful, Dr. Chen said. Don't let him blame you for the ship's problems. Lisa walked with Kira toward the bridge. As they passed through first class, she could see the alien passengers arguing loudly with each other. Some were demanding to use the escape pods. Others were shouting at the crew members. Ambassador Thel Vardak saw Lisa walking by. Captain, why is this human woman walking freely around the ship? Shouldn't all passengers be locked in their seats? Captain Morrison was standing near the front of first class. He looked terrible. His gray skin was pale, and his hands were shaking. When he saw Lisa, his black eyes filled with anger. You, he said, pointing at Lisa. You disobeyed my direct orders. You left your seat and interfered with my crew. I was trying to help save the ship, Lisa said calmly. Help? Captain Morrison laughed, but it was not a happy sound. What could a simple human woman possibly know about running a starship? Lord Korath stood up from his seat, the seat that used to belong to Lisa. Captain, we don't have time for this. The engines are broken. What are you going to do about it? My officers are working on the problem, Captain Morrison said. Your officers? Jake Sullivan had followed Lisa to first class. Your officers have been standing around doing nothing while the human crew members do all the work. Captain Morrison turned red with anger. How dare you speak to me that way, human? Guards, arrest this man. But the security guards looked uncertain. They were humans too, and they could see that their alien officers had no idea how to fix the ship. Lisa stepped forward. Captain Morrison, we don't have time for arguments. The ship is going to be destroyed unless we work together. Work together? Captain Morrison laughed again. I don't need help from inferior beings like you. At that moment, Chief Engineer Pete Rodriguez came running onto the bridge. His clothes were dirty and his face was covered with sweat. Captain, we have a serious problem. The main engines are completely dead. The backup engines are failing too. We're falling toward the gravity well faster than we calculated. Captain Morrison's face went white. How long do we have? Maybe 90 minutes. After that, the gravity will be too strong for any engine to pull us out. The alien passengers started panicking. Some screamed. Others demanded to be taken to the escape pods immediately. The escape pods won't work, Sam Brooks said as he came onto the bridge. They don't have enough power to escape the gravity well either. If we abandon ship now, everyone dies. Lisa looked at all the frightened faces around her. Then she looked at Pete and Sam. They were looking back at her with hope in their eyes. There might be one way to save the ship, Lisa said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Captain Morrison laughed. You? What could you possibly know that trained officers don't know? Lisa ignored him and spoke directly to Pete and Sam. What about the cargo bay thrusters? Pete's eyes got wide. The cargo bay thrusters? But those are only meant for moving cargo containers. They're not powerful enough to move the whole ship, not by themselves, Lisa agreed. But what if we used them together with the maneuvering thrusters and the docking thrusters? What if we fired them all at the same time in exactly the right sequence? Sam thought about this for a moment. That's actually possible, but it would require perfect timing. If we get the sequence wrong, we could tear the ship apart, and it would use almost all our remaining power, Pete added. If it doesn't work, we won't get a second chance. Captain Morrison stepped between them. This is ridiculous. I will not let passengers make decisions about my ship. Your ship is about to be destroyed, Lisa said, still speaking calmly. Do you have a better idea? Captain Morrison looked around at his alien officers. They all looked back at him with blank faces. None of them had any suggestions. Lord Korath stood up again. Captain, if this human thinks she can save us, let her try. I don't want to die because of your pride. Other alien passengers agreed. They were too scared to care about species superiority anymore. Captain Morrison's hands were shaking with anger, but he could see that he had no choice. Fine. But when this fails, it will be your fault, human. Lisa turned to Pete and Sam. We need to go to the engine room, and we need to work fast. The three of them hurried out of first class. Jake followed them, along with several other human crew members who had heard what was happening. In the engine room, Lisa began giving very specific instructions. She told Pete exactly which thrusters to prepare. She told Sam exactly how to calculate the firing sequence. She told Jake exactly which power systems to modify. How do you know all this? Pete asked as he worked. These procedures aren't in any manual I've ever seen. Some of these systems were designed for emergency situations, like this, Lisa said. But the instructions were never put in the regular manuals because they were considered too dangerous. Where did you learn about them? Sam asked. Lisa was quiet for a moment. I used to work in ship design, a long time ago. The men looked at each other. That explained some things, but not everything. Lisa knew too much about too many different systems. 30 minutes until we reach the point of no return, Sam announced. Lisa checked all the systems one more time. Everything had to be perfect. If they made even one small mistake, the ship would be torn apart by the different forces pulling in different directions. Are you sure this will work? Pete asked. Lisa looked at him honestly. No, I'm not sure. But it's our only chance. Jake finished his work on the power systems. Everything is ready on my end. Sam looked up from his computer. The firing sequence is programmed. All we need is someone to start it. All three men looked at Lisa. She had planned everything. She understood the systems better than anyone else on the ship. If anyone was going to push the button, it should be her. Mrs. Martinez, Pete said formally. Would you do the honors? Lisa put her hand on the control panel. Through the ship's speakers, she could hear the alien passengers in first class praying in their different languages. She could hear human passengers in economy class holding each other and trying to be brave. Here we go, she said and pushed the button. All over the ship, small thrusters began firing in a complex pattern. The ship shook and groaned as different forces pulled it in different directions. Lights flickered as power flowed to systems that had never been used this way before. For a few seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the ship began to move away from the gravity well. "It's working," Sam shouted. "We're breaking free." But Lisa was watching the power readings. They were dropping fast. "We need more power to the main sequence," she said. "We don't have more power," Pete said. "We're already using everything," Lisa thought quickly. Then she smiled. "Yes, we do. Jake, remember what you told me about the first-class entertainment systems?" Jake's face lit up. "They use a lot of power for the alien passengers' luxury features. Can you shut them down and redirect that power to the thrusters?" "I can try." Jake ran to another control panel and started working. In first class, all the fancy lights and music systems suddenly went dark. The alien passengers complained loudly, but they were too scared to do anything about it. The extra power was just enough. The ship pulled completely free of the gravity well and began moving safely through space again. Everyone in the engine room cheered. They had done the impossible. They had saved the ship and everyone on it. But Lisa just smiled quietly and stepped back from the controls. She had done what needed to be done. The Star Phoenix was now moving safely through space again, but the ship was badly damaged. Many systems were still broken. The lights were dim, and strange noises came from the walls. Everyone knew they were lucky to be alive. Lisa sat in the engine room with Pete, Sam, and Jake. They had been working together for hours to fix the most important systems. The three men kept looking at her with curious eyes. They wanted to ask her questions, but they were busy trying to keep the ship running. "The communication system is working again," Sam said from his computer. "We can send and receive messages now." "Good," Pete said. "We should contact Centauri Prime and tell them what happened. They need to know we're coming in with damaged systems." As Sam worked on the communication equipment, a loud beep came from the main control panel. A red light started flashing. "What's that?" Jake asked. Sam looked at his screen. "It's a priority message coming in. The signal is very strong. Someone is trying to reach this ship directly." "Who would send a priority message to us?" Pete wondered. The message signal kept beeping. Sam pressed some buttons to accept it. "This is a personal message for passenger Lisa Martinez," came a voice through the speakers. "Please respond immediately. This is urgent." All three men turned to look at Lisa. She had gone very quiet and still. "That's you," Jake said. "Someone is trying to reach you personally." "How do they know you're on this ship?" Lisa stood up slowly. "I should take this message privately." "Wait," Pete said. "Who would send you a priority message? Those are very expensive to send across space. Only very important people can afford them." Sam was looking at his screen with surprise. "This message is coming through the company emergency channel. Only Phoenix Galactic Enterprises executives can use this channel." Lisa walked over to the communication panel. "May I?" Sam moved aside, but he kept watching her carefully. Lisa pressed several buttons like she knew exactly how to use the equipment. "This is Lisa Martinez," she said into the microphone. A man's voice came through the speakers immediately. "Lisa, thank God you're safe. I got the emergency report about your ship. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine, David," Lisa said quietly. "But the ship is badly damaged. We almost didn't make it. I know, I've been tracking your position from here. The engineering reports say the engines failed completely. How did you escape the gravity well?" Lisa looked at Pete, Sam, and Jake. They were all staring at her with open mouths. "The human crew members worked very hard to save the ship," she said. "They're very good at their jobs." "I'm sure they are." "Lisa, I'm sending Admiral Johnson to meet you at Centauri Prime. I'm also sending Senator Davis with legal documents. We need to discuss what happened on that ship." The three men looked at each other with confusion. Admiral Johnson was one of the most important people in the human space fleet. Senator Davis represented human interests in the galactic government. "David, that's not necessary," Lisa said. "Yes, it is necessary. I just received a report from our security systems. The ship's computers automatically record everything that happens in public areas. I saw what Captain Morrison did to you. I saw how they treated you and the other human passengers. Pete stepped forward. Ma'am, who are you talking to? Lisa looked at him sadly. Pete, I'd like you to meet my husband, David Martinez. The voice on the speaker spoke again. Hello, Pete. This is David Martinez, Chairman and CEO of Phoenix Galactic Enterprises. I want to thank you and your crew for taking care of my wife. Pete's face went completely white. Sam dropped the tools he was holding. Jake sat down hard in a chair. Your wife? Pete whispered. Phoenix Galactic Enterprises? Sam said, his voice shaking. You're married to the owner of the company? Jake asked. Lisa nodded quietly. David owns this airline. He owns most of the human shipping companies in space. David's voice came through the speakers again. Lisa, I'm looking at the technical reports from your rescue operation. The engineering team says someone used procedures that aren't in any of our standard manuals. Someone with very high-level knowledge of our systems. The crew worked very hard, Lisa said again. Lisa, the reports say a passenger was giving technical instructions to the engineering team. A passenger who knew about emergency procedures that only our top designers would know. Pete was staring at Lisa with growing understanding. You didn't just used to work in ship design, did you? Lisa was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. Pete, Sam, Jake, I want you to meet the co-founder and chief technical designer of Phoenix Galactic Enterprises. I helped design this ship. I helped design most of the ships in our fleet. The three men just stared at her. Jake was the first to speak. You designed this ship? You actually designed the Star Phoenix? I designed the Phoenix-class ships 15 years ago. This ship and 12 others like it. Sam shook his head in amazement. That's why you knew about all those emergency procedures. You wrote them. I wrote the procedures, but we decided not to put them in the regular manuals. We were afraid that untrained people might try to use them and hurt themselves. Pete sat down slowly. So when Captain Morrison threw you out of first class, he threw out the woman who designed his ship, Lisa finished. The woman whose company owns his job. David's voice came through the speakers again. Lisa, there's something else. We just discovered that Elena Torres is on that ship with you. She's been traveling undercover, checking on how our crews treat passengers. Elena is here? Lisa asked, with surprise. She's in economy class, pretending to be a regular passenger. She's been recording everything that happened. The discrimination, the poor treatment of human passengers, the incompetence of the alien crew during the emergency. At that moment, a woman walked into the engine room. She was about 50 years old with black hair and business clothes. She had been sitting in economy class the whole trip, but Lisa had not noticed her before. Hello, Lisa, the woman said with a smile. I'm Elena Torres, Vice President of Customer Relations for Phoenix Galactic Enterprises. Lisa stared at her. Elena, what are you doing here? David asked me to take this trip secretly. We've been getting reports about discrimination on our ships. He wanted me to see it for myself. Elena looked at Pete, Sam, and Jake. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your excellent work during the emergency. However, I also want you to know that I have recorded everything that Captain Morrison and his crew did wrong on this trip. Recorded? Pete asked. Captain Morrison removed Mrs. Martinez from first class even though she had a valid ticket. He removed Dr. Chen to make room for alien luggage. He refused to let Jake Sullivan use his contractual upgrade benefits. He treated human passengers like second-class citizens. Elena pulled out a small recording device. I have video and audio of everything. Captain Morrison's discriminatory behavior, his incompetence during the emergency, and his refusal to listen to the people who actually saved this ship. David's voice came through the speakers again. Pete, Sam, Jake, I want you to know that your jobs are safe. In fact, I'm promoting all three of you immediately. Pete, you're now Chief Engineering Officer for the entire Phoenix fleet. Sam, you're now Head of Navigation Systems. Jake, you're now Director of Emergency Repairs. The three men looked at each other in shock. But sir, Pete said, we're just regular crew members. You're the crew members who saved my wife's life and the lives of everyone on that ship. You're the crew members who did your jobs perfectly while the alien officers failed completely. Lisa looked at her three new friends with a warm smile. You deserve these promotions. You earned them. Elena checked her watch. We should be arriving at Centauri Prime in about 6 hours. Admiral Johnson and Senator Davis will be waiting for us. They're going to want to talk to Captain Morrison about his behavior. What's going to happen to him? Jake asked. David answered from the speakers. Captain Morrison will be fired immediately. So will any crew member who participated in discriminating against human passengers. Lord Korath and Ambassador Vardak will discover that their business contracts with human companies are being cancelled. Lisa walked over to the communication panel. David, I just want to come home. I don't want to make a big scene about this. Lisa, this isn't just about you. This is about how humans are treated throughout the galaxy. It's time for people to understand that we're not weak or inferior. It's time for them to understand who really runs the space economy. Elena nodded. The other alien-owned airlines are going to be very surprised when they discover how much they depend on human technology and human expertise. Pete looked at Lisa with new respect. Ma'am, I have to ask, why didn't you tell Captain Morrison who you were? You could have stopped all this discrimination immediately. Lisa smiled sadly. Pete, I wanted to see how human passengers are really treated when people think no one important is watching. Now I know the truth. She looked at all of them. And now everyone else will know the truth too. As the Star Phoenix continued its journey to Centauri Prime, word was already spreading throughout the galaxy. The quiet woman who had been thrown out of first class was actually one of the most powerful people in human space. And she was not happy about what she had seen. The aliens who had laughed at her were about to discover that their laughter had been very expensive. The Star Phoenix slowly approached Centauri Prime spaceport. Through the windows, Lisa could see the beautiful blue and green planet getting bigger. She was sitting in the bridge now, in the captain's chair. Captain Morrison had been locked in, his quarters after Elena Torres officially relieved him of duty. Kira Vale was now wearing the captain's uniform. Her hands were shaking a little as she guided the damaged ship toward the docking platform. Pete Rodriguez stood next to her, helping with the technical systems. Sam Brooks was at the navigation station, talking to the spaceport control tower. Centauri. Prime Control, this is the Star Phoenix requesting emergency docking, Sam said into his microphone. Star Phoenix, you are cleared for Docking Bay 7. We have repair crews standing by. We also have some very important people waiting to meet. You. Lisa looked out the front window and saw something that made her smile. 3 huge warships were floating near the spaceport. They had the blue and white colors of the human Space Force. The biggest ship had Admiral Johnson written on its side. Lisa, Elena Torres said, walking onto the bridge, Admiral Johnson brought quite a welcome party for us. As the Star Phoenix docked, Lisa could see hundreds of people waiting on the platform. There were human reporters with cameras, alien diplomats looking worried, and security officers in both human and alien uniforms. I see Senator Davis, Elena said, pointing to a man in a dark suit. And there's Admiral Johnson in her dress uniform. Lisa stood up from the captain's chair. She was still wearing her simple blue dress and carrying her old brown bag. She looked exactly the same as when she had first boarded the ship, but now everyone knew who she really was. Mrs. Martinez, Kira said nervously. What should I do about the passenger list? The aliens in first class are demanding to leave the ship first. Lisa smiled. Captain Vale, you're in command now. What do you think we should do? Kira thought for a moment. I think we should let the human passengers leave first. They've been through enough. Excellent decision, Captain. Dr. Chen and the other human passengers from economy class were already lined up at the exit. They looked much happier now. Jake Sullivan was with them, wearing his new Director of Emergency Repairs uniform. In first class, Lord Korath and Ambassador Vardak were arguing loudly with the security guards. They were demanding to be treated as VIP passengers. This is outrageous, Lord Korath shouted. I am a noble of the Zephyrian Empire. I demand to speak with someone in charge. You can speak with me, Lisa said, walking into first class. Lord, Korath looked at her with disgust. You? You're just the human woman who was thrown out of first class. I want to speak with a real authority figure. Elena Torres stepped up next to Lisa. Lord Korath, this is Mrs. Lisa Martinez, co-founder of Phoenix Galactic Enterprises. She owns this ship, this airline, and probably half the businesses you depend on. Lord Korath's gray face turned even paler. That's impossible. She's just a simple human woman. That simple human woman designed this ship. She also saved your life when the engines failed. While you were panicking, she was fixing the problems that your friend Captain Morrison couldn't solve. Ambassador Vardek stood up from his seat. Even if this is true, I am a diplomat. I have immunity from your human laws. Lisa looked at him calmly. Ambassador, you're not being arrested, but you are being banned from traveling on any human-owned transportation for the rest of your life. I hope you enjoy walking between planets. The ambassador's blue face turned purple with anger. You cannot do this to me. I have important business throughout the galaxy. 90% of interstellar shipping is controlled by human companies, Elena said. Good luck conducting your business without us. As the human passengers left the ship, Lisa could see Admiral Johnson waiting for her on the platform. Admiral Kate Johnson was a tall woman with short white hair and a uniform covered with medals. She looked very serious. Admiral, Lisa said as she walked down the ramp from the ship. Mrs. Martinez, Admiral Johnson said with a salute. I'm glad you're safe. When we received the emergency reports, we feared the worst. Senator Rick Davis walked over to them. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a friendly smile. Lisa, I've been waiting to meet you for a long time. Your husband has told me so much about your work. Senator Davis, thank you for coming. But this really isn't necessary. Oh, but it is necessary, Senator Davis said. What happened on that ship represents a much bigger problem. Human citizens are being discriminated against throughout the galaxy, and most people don't realize how much the galaxy depends on human expertise. Admiral Johnson nodded. We've been tracking similar incidents on dozens of ships, alien crews treating human passengers badly, refusing to acknowledge human technical superiority, acting like we're inferior beings. What do you plan to do about it? Lisa asked. We're going to make some changes, Senator Davis said with a smile. Starting with this. He handed Lisa a document. She read it quickly and then looked up with surprise. A new law? The Interstellar Passenger Rights Act. It requires all ships traveling between human and alien worlds to treat passengers equally, regardless of species. Any discrimination will result in immediate loss of trading licenses. Admiral Johnson added, We are also implementing new safety requirements. All passenger ships must have human-trained emergency crews. No more alien crews who don't understand the technology they're supposed to operate. But the biggest change, Senator Davis said, is economic. We're requiring all alien-owned transportation companies to purchase insurance from human companies. If they discriminate against human passengers, they lose their insurance. Without insurance, they can't operate. Lisa looked around at all the reporters and cameras. You're making this very public. The galaxy needs to understand the truth, Admiral Johnson said. Humans aren't weak or inferior. We're the engineers who design the ships, the technicians who keep them running, and the financiers who make interstellar trade possible. At that moment, Captain Morrison was brought off the ship in handcuffs. He was no longer wearing his fancy uniform. Instead, he wore simple gray prison clothes. His head was down and he wouldn't look at anyone. What will happen to him? Lisa asked. He'll be tried for endangering passengers and discrimination, Senator Davis said. If convicted, he'll spend several years in prison and never work on a starship again. Lord Korath and Ambassador Vardek were also being escorted off the ship. They weren't in handcuffs, but they were surrounded by security guards. What about them? Elena asked. Their business contracts with human companies are being canceled, Admiral Johnson said. Lord Korath's shipping business depends entirely on human technology and human crews. Without our support, he'll be bankrupt within a month. Ambassador Vardek will find it very difficult to do his diplomatic work when he can't travel on any human-controlled transportation, Senator Davis added. Lisa watched as her 3 friends from the engine room were given their new uniforms and rank insignia. Pete Rodriguez now wore the uniform of a chief engineering officer. Sam Brooks had the rank of navigation systems director. Jake Sullivan proudly wore his director of emergency repairs badge. They deserve those promotions, Lisa said. They saved everyone on that ship. Admiral Johnson agreed. While the alien officers were panicking, these human crew members did their jobs perfectly. Dr. Chen walked over to Lisa. Mrs. Martinez, I want to thank you for everything you did. Not just for saving the ship, but for showing dignity when you were treated so badly. Dr. Chen, I didn't do anything special. I just tried to help when help was needed. That's what makes it special, Dr. Chen said with a smile. Kira Vale came down the ramp wearing her new captain's uniform. She walked over to Lisa and saluted. Captain Vale, Lisa said, returning the salute. How does it feel to command your own ship? Scary and exciting at the same time, ma'am. But I promise to treat all passengers with respect regardless of their species. I know you will, Captain. You've already proven that. As the crowd began to disperse, Lisa found herself standing alone with Elena Torres. So what happens now? Elena asked. Now we go home, Lisa said simply. David is waiting for us on Earth. He wants to hear about everything that happened. The other alien-owned airlines are going to be very surprised when they discover the new regulations, Elena said with a smile. Good, Lisa said. Maybe next time they'll think twice before discriminating against human passengers. As they walked toward the human transport ship that would take them home, Lisa looked back at the Star Phoenix. The ship was being repaired by human technicians while alien reporters interviewed the crew members who had saved everyone's lives. You know, Elena said, 6 months ago, most aliens thought humans were just workers and servants. Now they're learning that we're actually the ones who run the galaxy. Lisa smiled. They should have been nicer to us when they thought we were powerless. Now they'll have to be nice to us because they know we're not. The transport ship lifted off from Centauri Prime, carrying Lisa home to Earth. Behind them, the news was already spreading throughout the galaxy. The simple woman who had been thrown out of first class was actually one of the most powerful people in human space, and she had just reminded everyone that it's never wise to underestimate a human, especially a quiet one who's been paying attention to everything around her.